We are back with the LS7 build. We are bringing you oil pan install, front assembly, and quite a few other bits and parts. Let's get to it. Today's video is brought to you by CamaroCon. If you guys are interested in attending the West Coast's largest gathering of Camaros and Firebirds from all generations, hit up CamaroCon.com and learn more information about this show. So today we find out that my motor stand is a pile of junk, but it's working because the motor's still on the stand.
For now.
For now. We gotta add more weight to it. So what's going on, guys? Matt over here, Lethal Garage. If you guys have been watching the motor series, I appreciate you checking out all the individual videos, but today we're getting into the oil pan, the windage tray, the pickup tube, front assembly. Billy.
Is that where the lube came from?
We are back multiple days later. Well, when we left off last time, or at least we had full intentions of getting the windage tray on, we ran into the issue where we didn't have the proper spacers for this. So this is an actually 4th gen LS1 windage tray that we are going to be putting on this beautiful LS7. That being stated, it's not necessarily meant for this motor, and it needs to be spaced a little bit, or the pistons are going to be tapping on this, and that would be bad. So Mike has brought over his own little mechanic tricks, I'm going to just say that, spacers, to lift this off. It is a little bit of technicality here because we can't space it too much to where all of a sudden it's going to hit the actual oil pan and cause clearance problems or being able to seal properly, etc. So I'm going to pass this off to Mike, and he's going to explain what we're actually going to be doing here.
So first thing you need to do is actually put it on and check your clearance.
So basically you're going to be cranking on this to see where it hits.
Yes.
And then where it hits will give us an idea of how much clearance we need. Oh,
yeah,
there it is.
Make sure you make 2 full rotations with it. I like to do 2 full rotations just to make sure that...
Yep, there it is again. Make sure it leaves a mark.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain it doesn't the first time, but the second time definitely left a mark. The actual bolt coming around and hitting it.
Yeah. So you can see the mark right there in center cam and right there. So we need to get clearance so that doesn't hit.
Yes, let's go get clearance.
So we tested clearance, as you saw. We saw it's rubbing in one specific spot. So Mike's resorting to caveman methods.
We must beat it. So you can see right where it hit here, and then you can see where it has this gap right here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take the hammer and just close that gap up.
And I talked about this off camera. Why are we running an LS1 windage tray on an LS7? Well, as Mike has stated, this LS7 has a 4-inch stroke. Did you say it was the only one that has a 4-inch stroke?
It's the only LS that has a 4-inch stroke factory.
So that being stated, we have an oil pan that needs clearance that an LS7 windage tray won't clear. So we had to get creative, or Mike got creative, and realized the LS1 setup will work fine. And in this instance, we just have to verify nothing's hitting the actual tray. So we are putting it on. We did a little test round, it rubbed, and now we're back at the second round where we're tightening it up and making sure we have good clearance.
Correct.
So now that it's all tightened up, we're giving it quite a few full rotations to make sure we have good clearance.
And the taco's clear.
Perfect. Windage tray installed. So for those of you out there who don't know, hey, wait, come back. Come back. Mike just walked me through an entire situation of how all of the oil flows through. And I was like, wait, what are these 2 holes? And then it dawned on me, oil filter has to go somewhere. And then Mike gave me the whole explanation. Hey, Mike, give that explanation again, because it's good information for people who don't know.
So as the oil picks up, feeds into the oil pump compresses it, shoots it down its oil galley, that actually runs the entire length of this side. Comes out of here, goes through your oil filter. The oil filter dumps it back into here. The oil filter puts it into this oil galley back into here, which feeds the camshaft into these galleys down in here, which in turn feed all the lifters, the cam bearings, and then from there it trickles down and feeds your main bearings into your rod bearings.
And then recycles back into the pan.
And then recycles right back into the pan.
I think I did a pretty good job cleaning that.
You did.
What?
Tasty.
Oh, God.
Now,
So we got the gasket on.
gaskets on, everything like that. Now, you do kind of want to spend a little bit of time whenever you do something like this, especially with an aftermarket oil pan and pickup tube, to make sure that your oil pump pickup tube is not riding on the bottom of the oil pan. Can't get oil in that way.
So how do you make sure it's not riding on the bottom of the oil pan?
This one here has already been measured and checked a couple different times, and that was because this was a previously used setup. But Holley has a really good setup on their stuff, and it doesn't require a lot of manufacturing and stuff like that. But I have gotten into some of the custom stuff, like the oil pan that's on my car right now. We actually had to make an adjustment to the oil pump pickup tube to get the proper 1/8 inch clearance on it.
Nice. So now that we got the oil pan lined up with the gasket, we're getting our 11 bolts along the sides all tightened down. Hey Mike, what's the torque spec on these?
18 foot-pounds.
There you go. Or 3 Ooga Doogas.
I'm going with 4 right now. Safe.
Just tighten it until it's not leaking oil anymore. What oil filter does this make?
Same oil filter that your LT car takes.
So I could screw on an oil filter and say I did something? See, look, I stock up on my oil filters. If you guys didn't know, I'm Nam's oil dealer. Shameless plug.
Make sure you spit on it first. Oh God.
Oh God.
You didn't put any oil on that.
I don't need to right now, because we're not putting oil in the motor for a little bit. But at least I'm sealing up holes is what I'm doing.
You're being proactive.
I'm sealing up a hole. Wow, look at that. Oil pan is on. We got an oil filter kind of in place. Again, I'm just putting this here to seal up a hole. We'll get that on right when we're actually ready to fill the motor with oil. But I think what, next step? Front?
L front cover.
L front cover. Let's get her done. So, front main cover, we have a gasket. Front main seal, which goes into there. Obviously not in the plastic.
From the front side, it literally tells you. No, these don't tell you. But
Now you're lying.
these are. This is how the LS front main seal goes into place. And basically, you're just gonna give her a little. Don't get too violent with it, otherwise you will tear it. You just knock it flush, and that's all it needs. We're using silver on this one here because it'll be the second place motor.
Wow.
A little dab in each corner. That's all it takes there.
Because it's basically sealing on 2 gaskets, right? So you have
It's
this
where-
gasket we're putting on, and then the gasket that overhangs from the pan.
The 2 mating surfaces. On this entire motor, there's only 4 spots of silicone, and literally they're one, 2, and then on the same on the rear cover where the gasket meets up.
So, but what you'll notice is on the LT motor build that we're doing next, we'll use like 17 tubes of silicone.
That's just to take it apart.
Why? What is up with you and the Australian accent? Where'd that come
I
from?
have no idea. I think I watched too much Steve Irwin.
God rest his soul.
Bless his heart.
Yes.
Now that you have everything all set up, slide this into place. Get it right now. pull it right there. Make sure you're not too forceful with that. And then you're just gonna run these in just to get them started. The other ones from the bottom. So basically how I do this is I just close the gap and make sure that I have just a small tiny gap right there. So basically this is just snug, it's not actually tight. So we come in from the bottom and we snug the front cover to the oil pan, and now we're going to snug the front cover to the motor. There, and the front cover is on.
So with the front cover on, we have the cam position sensor. Sorry, this light is, sorry, it's getting dark in the garage, so. So what is that exactly reading? I know it's one of the very few electronics on this entire build.
So the cam position and the crank position sensor are both Hall effect sensors. So basically, there's a power ground and a signal wire. It's a 3-wire sensor. This is a magnet on the end of it. So, with that being said, now if you shine your light into this hole here, as I bring the motor around, you can see.
Sorry, it's kind of hard to see. Yeah, we can see.
Where it just had that little break in it.
Yep.
So, as it goes around, you'll see it'll pick it up again. Now this is what they call a 4-position cam position sensor, because it literally has 4 bumps on the on the cam sprocket itself, and then that's what picks up close enough to this magnet to where it actually closes the circuit inside of here and tells the motor, or tells the ECU, where the motor is as far as relation to top dead center.
So you have the cam position sensor, and I think the crank position sensor this side?
Other side.
Other side. There's a crank position sensor as well.
And if you shine,
Oh yeah, it's over there.
That,
it's in the back corner right there.
You see all the little teeth on the crank where the reluctor wheel was, where we just covered it all up.
Yeah.
So you'll see if you look through that hole that those teeth are almost perfectly lined up in that hole. So as the crankshaft goes around, it's got one little break in it, and that's where it tells it when to fire.
Ah, sweet.
Easy, right?
Maybe. So, and the other question I had with Mike, and again, I haven't built an LS motor and haven't even been around an LS motor that's been pulled apart. Obviously, there's an open gap here. So I was like, how does that actually seal? And Mike was kind enough to tell me that a balancer is not just a balancer.
Yep.
It seals the motor.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
It's actually a weight that hangs off the end of it and then basically slides into this part here as it slides down over the top of everything, and then the balancer is actually what seals up that hole.
And that's why you don't want to make that in or push that in too far, because that
there's a stop on the back of it, but there's been a lot of, if you do push it in too far, is it on the proper surface to actually seal against the balancer? There's a million different ways to read into it. I've done it like this a million times, so I'm going to keep doing it just like that.
Well, that wraps up that aspect of the motor. Now, I was struggling to figure out what this is called. Mike says old school, this would be called the tins, getting the tins on, because back in the day it was made out of tin. But now these are aluminum, so I'm not going to try to make up words.
Oil pan, front cover, the necessities.
Yeah, so oil pump, front cover, pan, pickup tubes, sensors. I'm missing the proper bolt for that. I gotta go get one. But that's done. So really the next step is valley cover, getting the crossover for the coolant.
The Kool-Aid, yes.
Yes. And then dropping the intake and the carburetor. I still gotta get the covers. I gotta go down to Manton and pick those up. So I'm just gonna call those like just the miscellaneous stuff. So I think once we get all the parts and pieces, we have the valley cover, obviously. We took that off because we're doing something special to it, or Mike is doing, I don't know what he's planning. He took my valley cover. I asked him to have it polished because I didn't like the way it looked from factory, and he's like, I have a feeling it's going to be pink. If it's pink, I'm throwing it in the trash can. Oh God! Please don't. Yeah, no. So I think we're in a really good place. We have a motor. This is the Lethal Classic LS7 as it sits. We're gonna get a bag over it. God, I am so ready for this. We were just discussing what are the next steps here. I've basically determined I'm gonna get this car running unpainted. So the Lethal Classic will sport a beautiful gray color for a while. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have them come media blast, so the whole front clip, inside the motor, firewall, everything, all media blasted. We'll get the interior all cleaned up, media blasted, firewall sealed up, all that stuff. So the next video you're gonna see on the car is gonna be subframe getting pulled apart in little pieces, and I'm going to talk through what we're doing to upgrade that and make the car ride how we want to be the pro touring look, because obviously it's set up for drag racing right now. And yeah, so we're going to get that all cleaned out, get the interior started. I basically have everything on lock except for the front seats and the center console, and we got to get the rest of the motor stuff. So we obviously have the ignition and all that stuff and the MSD parts. We have all the accessory pieces, the water pump, the alternator, the what am I forgetting? The Chingaderas. We have the radiator, all that stuff. So we'll get that all squared away. Hopefully this car will be firing. I would love to see this car fire before the end of the year, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm gonna say by spring.
Done by Camaro Con.
No. Definitely not done by Camaro Cons, but you know, budgets are not going to allow that, and stress levels. So thanks for checking out the content, guys. So obviously still a lot more to do. We'll keep it coming. Stay tuned for the LT1 build because we have that coming. It's not going to be as thorough as this, but all that being stated, I'm really excited for the 71 build. I think it's coming along pretty good. I have a good idea of the direction we're going, so it's going to start happening. The problem is Camaro Con is kind of throwing a giant wrench in things. So a lot of my funds are tied up into the event until the event is over, which is completely fine. But that has just caused the 71 to go on a little bit of a hiatus, which is unfortunate. But you know what? It's what's got to happen. I got a family, and yeah, got to take care of them, feed the children. But yeah, that's all I got. It's a great excuse. It's a proper excuse. So all that being stated, likes, comments, shares appreciated. As always, guys, I do appreciate you guys watching these videos, supporting the channel. Every view counts, every like counts. So if you guys are totally interested into this content, hit that subscribe button. It's appreciated, and welcome to the Lethal family. But until next time, see you on the road. See, I knew I bought it. I knew I bought it.
This is literally 2 weeks later.
No, it's not. That was in the armrest of my truck. I forgot I had my truck washed, and I cleared everything off the front seat after I picked that up, and I put it in the armrest, and I totally forgot I put it in there.
See? No money for a 71, but we can get our truck washed.